what was it, last Wednesday, Thursday, we had played that video from this group of activist weirdos who were planning this global day of economic disruption
Yep.
for yesterday. So they were, trying to plot all the cities across the world. There was going to be all this disruption. It was a little more chill than expected, I think, although they did come out and they did cause some hullabaloo in a few different cities across the United States, namely one of them being the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. Here's a Fox report about it.
Part of the Golden Gate Bridge on the Oakland side, Oakland, California. This is a live look. Look at that. Traffic has come to a halt as police officers in riot gear are responding. Protesters waving flags, and they have painted the bridge in some support of Palestinians, anti-Israel. Sean Duffy, co-host of the...
So this is what it looked like at the front of where this blockade was taking place. So they've gotten very clever. They're not just sitting on the ground. Now they're like putting their arms and holding hands with like these tube things. So this is what it looks like.
Something covered.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they can still be mowed over. Not that I'm condoning that. Not that I'm saying that you should do that, but I mean, this is the thing. Okay. So, I mean, this is happening in Democrat cities, obviously. It's happening in liberal cities because they're allowing it to happen.
And for some reason, the mayors of these cities tell the cops, at least temporarily, to stand down and just allow this to happen for hours before they actually do anything about it. I don't understand why they allow them to get away with this crap.
Yeah, and again, I'm sure they're changing lots of minds because I'm sure the people that are sitting in traffic for 3-4 hours are going, oh yeah, I'm so delighted that they're doing this, and I'm absolutely changing my mind on this stance. Can you imagine how pissed you'd be?
Oh my God.
You're in that traffic.
Rage. I cannot even begin to tell you the rage.
I mean, I can't. I get pissy if I'm 15 minutes in traffic at this point in my life. I mean, I've done traffic a lot in my 20s and 30s. I lived in Atlanta, for crying out loud, in Boston and Chicago. I mean, I've done the traffic thing. If I have to sit for 15, 20 minutes and I'm that put out at this point, I am in a complete, I can't imagine how half the people in that line of traffic felt. You're definitely not changing minds, you losers.
No. And here's a first person account after the 3-hour mark.
3 hours. Our car was stranded
on a bridge.
Oh my God.
It heaved a few minutes ago. Cops are backed up all the way across the bridge now.
Go ahead and get back in your car. You're going to open it up very soon.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Look at that.
Unreal.
And it's like 10 people at the most that are causing all this mayhem.
Exactly. 7 to 10 people. Get them out of there. Drag them out.
Oh my God. And then there was Chicago. So they did the same thing, blocking access to the Chicago airport. And so people who had flights to catch, some of them were actually getting out of their cars and walking. They just left their cars in the middle of the street. This is absolutely incredible. Here's some footage.
It's bad when people are literally sitting on top of their cars and walking to the airport.
So they have flights to catch.
Oh, there's a protest.
Oh.
That's annoying.
Yeah.
Look at this.
If you notice, there's a bunch of masks out there too. All these people are wearing masks. Look at all the masks, you guys. It's not for a virus. Why do you think they're wearing masks?
God, I would be enraged if this was, oh my God.
I'd be like, take your mask off, you coward.
Right?
You have a backpack. Is it gray?
And people are mad. They're like, you for blocking me.
Yeah. Especially, can you imagine? What if you had to catch a flight for any reason? It doesn't even matter what the reason is. You have to catch a flight and you miss a flight because of these jackholes. Yeah, exactly.
God. So
this absolute rage.
this next clip is just about the people that are participating in these protests and how sometimes they can get paid really well for this.
It goes back, some of this stuff goes back to the 60s, some of it to Occupy Wall Street more recently, where a lot of these techniques were sort of tested out. And generally, people who do these protests, they're in college, they go back to their lives. But what some of them do is they sort of graduate into management, for lack of a better term, and it's a career path. They become organizers. They're funded by nonprofits, George Soros foundations, and the like. And they get money to do this thing. That's their lives. And some of them actually make decent money.
That is vile.
You remember Occupy Wall Street? Remember when there were people pooping on cop cars? Y'all remember?
Mm-hmm.
This is the caliber of individual that we're dealing with who's in these protests.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know if I've told you lately, but you in danger, girl. You in danger. There is so much.
What am I in danger about now? I feel like I'm in danger all the time. You're always telling me I'm in danger.
We're only on the brink of World War III. It's no big deal. We're fine. Everything's fine.
Everything's fine.
I think what everybody needs is just have a 3-month survival food kit on hand. I feel like you don't have to be like a quote crazy prepper. I think everybody needs to have, you're right, at least 3 months of food on hand. And when you say at least, they probably should have 6 months to 9 months of food on hand. And you can do that at forpatriots.com/chicks and get a really good deal on that. And the peace of mind that you deserve, because, you should be, everybody should have that, some water, couple different supplies, and I don't know if everybody has that. Do they?
And it's a one-stop shop, man, for disaster recovery and disaster planning and emergency planning. So
and
the food kits are great. Yeah, camping,
all
and
sorts
like
of
all
stuff.
the solar stuff and the water filtration. I mean, everything that you could think of and things that you haven't thought of. That's what the most important thing.
Yeah.
You can find them at 4patriots.com.
Do it.
And there are places, of course, where this will not be tolerated, namely Florida. Florida, apparently they tried this in Tampa and it did not last long, because immediately the police department rolled up, they issued citations, they cleared them out within 15 minutes.
That's how it's
done.
done.
What's happened. That's what happens when you have good leadership. You don't deal with this bullshit. You don't allow the crazies to take over entire city streets for hours and hours.
Well, translation, that's what you happen when you're in a conservative city.
Yeah.
That's what, and when you're not in a stupid liberal city, I mean, seriously, that's the difference. It's like, no.
You don't do that here. Try that in a small town, as they say.
Exactly.
Now, Tom Cotton was on talking about what would happen and what it would look like if people tried this in his home state. And he actually said some things, you guys. He said the things out loud.
Well, I feel very deeply for all those people who are trying to get to work or trying to pick up a kid. Very worried about the diversion of police resources when it needs to be stopping crime in cities. Like San Francisco, where firefighters are having to go there when they might have calls for fires out. I have to say, Sandra, I agree with you that you have to get to these criminals early. If something like this happened in Arkansas on a bridge there, let's just say I think there'd be a lot of very wet criminals that have been tossed overboard, not by law enforcement, but by the people whose road they're blocking. If they glued their hands to a car or the pavement, well, probably pretty painful to have their skin ripped off. But I think that's the way we'd handle it in Arkansas. And I would encourage most people anywhere that get stuck behind criminals like this who are trying to block traffic to take matters in their own hands. There's only usually a few of them, and there's a lot of people being inconvenienced. It's time to put an end to this nonsense.
I mean, he's not wrong. He's just not wrong. I mean, again, like you said, try that in a small town. If you did that where I live, that would happen. People aren't going to be inconvenienced where I live. And you try that crap here in the town that I live in. Oh my God, there's no way that would fly. It just wouldn't. People would be like, no.
Yeah, but then like you got to know, depending on where you are, you got to know what the rules are in your state and what happens if because ultimately you could be the one that's punished, and that's infuriating, but true. And so you have to be careful when you just decide to go all vigilante.
I think a lot of people would be willing to take that. I think a lot
like
of
go
people,
to jail and like
I guess some people probably would be. Some people would be willing to take one for the team, because look at the people that were put out by that on the Golden Gate Bridge.
Oh my God, for hours and hours and hours. I mean, I just cannot Oh my, and on a bridge, I would be terrified. I would have abandoned my car.
I
For
would have
sure.
abandoned my car too. You know how much I hate bridges.
Yeah.
So this is the thing. And he's not, listen, I know that you think saying that out loud probably was not the appropriate thing to say, but we're all thinking it.
Exactly.
So
Well,
I
and it's
appreciate him
kind of
saying it.
like what Newt says too. Newt Gingrich is so enraged, rightly, at the protesters, particularly those who scream "Death to America," right? And
Mhm.
so, I feel his rage so much. But what he's suggesting here, I think we need to give some pause to. Not about the deportations, because he's absolutely right. If you are a non-citizen and you are here without authority and you're
GTFO.
going to these protests and you're screaming "Death to America," honestly, I don't care if you're shot on sight. I really don't. I don't care. You broke the law. You shouldn't be here and you hate it here. And now you're trying to trash the country that's hosting you illegally.
That's paying for you.
Bye.
Yeah, it's hosting you, paying for you, and
Oh my
giving you
God.
everything for free. GTFO.
Yeah, I do not care about them. But when it comes to American citizens, it's a little bit more complicated. But here's Newt.
The fact is, I think we ought to go back and learn the lessons of the 1930s. Franklin Delano Roosevelt was faced with a Nazi effort inside the United States. They locked people up. If I believe, frankly, we should say, if you are for the victory of Iran, if you want to scream death to America, we're deporting you. If you're an American, we're going to try you for treason. You can't get up and say death to America as an American citizen. And it's time that we were prepared to defend the survival of the United States. And I think that it's time we confronted head on a president who clearly, on every single front, from Ukraine, where he favors Russia, to what's happened in Afghanistan, where in the end he favored the Taliban, to what's happening in Gaza, where he favors Hamas, to what's happening with Iran, where he favors the Iranians. On every front, Joe Biden is on the side of the people who hate America.
That's
Yeah,
true.
I mean, this is the thing. I love the sentiment there. But
Right.
you can't put people in jail like for, burning the flag or saying that you can't. I don't think you can say you can't put people in jail for saying out loud "Death to America." You can
Right.
shame them, which we don't do enough of. Now, if they're illegals, yeah, GTFO, like find out if these people are not supposed to be here and then deport them, which we do not do. We just don't
Right.
do it.
And I mean, the thing is whenever I see a protest that includes the burning of the American flag, it makes me sick to my stomach. The same way that it makes me sick to my stomach to think that any citizen of this country would say "Death to America." But the fact remains that is what makes America, is that they have the right to do those things. So I do get a little bit squirrely when Newt suggests that they be thrown in jail
Yeah,
for treason,
but the
because it's
sentiment,
just saying things,
right?
right?
The sentiment I love, and I think the problem is nowadays is there's just not enough shame in that.
Yeah.
There's not enough shame. In fact, the tables have turned. The pendulum has swung so far to the other side where it's like people are cheering for that now, and that terrifies me.